Hello everyone, Barefoot Ginger back from a weekend away. How is everyone? I'm pretty rested, although I will have to say that it wasn't the most relaxing vacation. It was still restful. He's staring at me. You guys, I wasn't going to talk about this. My neighbor has a problem with boundaries. So maybe we'll just talk about this a little bit, because we've lived in this house for almost 12 years. And he has had problems. Just to kind of put this in context so people don't think that I'm just whining and playing the victim. He has either had verbal or physical assaults with all but one neighbor the last 12 years. And the only reason for that one is because he tends to get along really well with them. They're really chill people. And so he's the one connection in the neighborhood that he hasn't burned in, over 12 years, but I can only speak to the 12 years that I've been living there. So he has pulled pistols. He has choked people out. He has physically assaulted people, punched them. He has trespassed on our property multiple times. He is a raging narcissist. He's a raging, not even a narcissist. I don't know what the word is. He just doesn't know boundaries. He doesn't. He's the kind of guy who says, you can't enforce boundaries because I'm trying to be helpful. And it's not even that it's helpful. It's that he deems it helpful. So, for example, the people that lived in the house before us were his BFFs. So they sold the house. Well, they lost the house. It got foreclosed on. We bought it on a short sale. And he just tried to pick up where he left off with the old neighbors. Proceeded to tell us that all of the handyman stuff in the house, he and this other neighbor guy were responsible for. Well, you guys, it all sucks. But he would also just assert that he wanted to be the one to continue the handyman projects, but we weren't allowed to say anything to him. That he knows what he's doing. That if we hired him, we couldn't say anything. We couldn't question his decisions. We couldn't call him out on any mistakes that we that he may or may not have made. He also had two big dogs, a Rhodesian Ridgeback and a Wolf Hybrid, who would just come over. And for the first year and a half we lived there, we didn't have a dog. Well, it was like 5 years. But once we got Sage, those dogs, it's like he has no self-awareness. And he can't say to himself, oh wow, they got a dog. I better pull my dogs back, because dogs don't always get along with other dogs. And with his Wolf Hybrid, she had a history of being dog aggressive. She mostly attacked littler dogs, but I think if she was opportunistic enough, she would go after a dog her size. So the one dog, the Rhodesian Ridgeback, came in our house one time and dragged a dirty towel out of the laundry onto the grass and proceeded to suckle it. Just because we were on our front porch and the door was ajar. And he's like, oh yeah, she does that all the time. We've been friends with them, and she's so used to going in. Okay, but we're not them, so how about no? But so those are just some of the tiny little ways that he is completely unaware of neighbor expectations, new neighbor etiquette. He brought his leaf blower over one time. We had this big, huge tree we just cut down, but we had this big tree, a big maple tree that was quite prolific with its leaves. And he didn't ask. He just brought his leaf blower and started blowing the leaves in our yard toward our fence with our garage door open and my husband in the garage. He didn't ask if he could help do the leaves, and he wasn't interested in doing the leaves. He was interested in doing the leaves he could see, because he has to manage what he can see. He has to say, I'm only focused on what I can see. The leaves on the side yard that he can't see when he's staring out of his garage are unimportant to him. So there's that. So he pretty swiftly got trespassed off our yard, and then now it's kind of a silent fight. Like, there's this invisible line down the middle of the road. He thinks that the road is his because he pays taxes. So as recent as yesterday, he's out in the road. And those little tiny, like I call them penny-sized tree seeds that look like pennies, that are paper, and they look like paper, but they're actually quite fragile, but they're tree seeds. And they're really, really hard to sweep, so he blows them into the neighbor's yard. He blows all of those seed pods away from his property. And if it's in other people's yards, that's fine. So to his west is an older couple that just moved in. To his east is a fairly youngish couple that he's gotten some heat from. Across the street is a guy, they don't live there anymore, but to our south, across the street, but directly to our south, across the street from him, is the house where the gentleman resided that he actually physically assaulted. And then to our north is the neighbor that gets along with him. And then across the street to his north is a guy, several houses, several owners he has struggled with. Law enforcement has been involved multiple times. He pistol whipped somebody who he thought... No, the guy... I'm sorry, I don't know the exact details, so I'm just gonna leave it very vague. My husband knows the details. My husband witnessed it, but a pistol was involved at some point. I'm just gonna say that, over the red dog, over the Rhodesian Ridgeback. So there's that. And I guess over the course of the time we've been there, it's always just been, let me do it my way. There's no awareness. He has had 2 traumatic brain injuries, so I do give him some space for not always recognizing personal boundaries. However, he is self-aware enough to know that he doesn't try anything. We have our big blue truck parked in front of our house, and it's there for a reason. It's kind of a barrier between us and him. We do have an RV parking spot right next to our driveway where he could very easily park the truck. But when the truck's not at the street, the neighbor will come over and weed whack the weeds that grow through the little cracks in the asphalt. He will clean off the sidewalk in front of our house. Not because he's a good neighbor, guys. I don't want to, I don't want to cast any aspersions. I'm not being difficult. I'm not being a hysterical neighbor. I don't need to be more tolerant. He's doing it to be self-serving. And he's told us that he doesn't like the way we keep our yard. Flat out. He's told us that the weeds are bad. Just as early as a week and a half ago, he told us that He was out there when one of the days my husband was homesick. He was out there on our sidewalk blowing everything from our side of the sidewalk under the truck. And while that might not meet the legal definition of trespassing, it's definitely bad neighbor. So I don't want to hear it. Because good neighbors don't blow shit under each other's trucks. They just don't do that. They respect that boundary. So when the truck is there, at least we have a little boundary. When the truck's not there, he'll come over. And I know he'll come over because we have doorbell cameras. So he'll do that. So that's just how it's been. And he'll run his blower 5, 6, 7 times a day very often. Like yesterday, he was out there all day, and I knew he was going to be out there all day because he's been gone for a week. So I expected that there would be some shenanigans. And there was. There was several goes with the blower. There was a lawnmower. There was a hedge trimmer. We also had a storm that knocked down several branches. So yard work is fine. All the neighbors were out doing their yard work. The difference is they put their tools away and go home. Or go back in the garage. He literally, the garage door goes up at 6. And he's out there. He had everything going yesterday by 7:45. So I'm of the mind that it's all in due course. It's all boundaries. It's all expectations. In the fall, in the past, when we've had our tree, it has been a battle royale to get him to leave the leaves to us. Now the tree is down. We took the tree down in January. It was dead. And so we took the tree down in January. So we'll see this fall. He shouldn't have a reason to manage the stuff on our side of the street, as it were. I don't know that that's enough. I think that there will constantly be reasons for him to justify coming over, but it's even more insidious than that. So imagine where you feel like you live in a fishbowl. Because his garage faces the front of our house, and he's always in his garage, and he's always watching us. Imagine a scenario where you're being watched by a creepy old guy every day for 12 years. It's not fun. And it's not even awkward. It passed awkward the first week we moved in. It's just not okay. And we've told him, stop watching us. And I get that you're sitting in your garage, but he's got a television that he can put his back to our house and focus on the television. But he would rather watch everything we do. And so then he tries to give us side eye by watching us out of the corner of his eye. You know, so his head is facing this way, but it's turned just enough that he can kind of see what we're doing. And that's how it is constantly. I know when I come home, the days I work from home, and I'm out on site, going out on sites, he watches me come, he watches me go, he watches me take groceries in, he watches us pack for camping trips, he knows when we're going to be gone, all the things. And like Monday, we're leaving for another trip, and we're taking the truck, so he's going to know, because we're packing the truck and he's got his garage door wide open. So it's not okay. And last October, he took it up a notch. See, my camera's going off right now. And I know that my husband has already left for work, so I'll have to check the cameras when I get home. I don't know why they're going off. Anyway, last October, when my husband took off for his week-long hunting trip, which has also occurred every single year, I ended up staying in a hotel because at one point, the neighbor had decided to stand in front of our house in the street with his camera taking pictures. And he knows my husband's not. because he watches us. There's no stalking laws that are being broken because he's on his own property. The law enforcement has been out. One time last summer, he hit me with his blower, but the law enforcement refused to call it assault because they just don't want to bother. I don't know if it's because they know this guy or they're just jackbooted thugs. I don't know. They told me that I could try for a TRO. Imagine a scenario where I file a restraining order against the guy across the street. And the restraining order says you can't come within 500 feet of your victim. That means that he can't come out of his house, and that's illegal. So a restraining order is out. Because he's allowed to come and go. You know, he wouldn't be able to get in his car. He wouldn't be able to back out of his driveway. He would have to stay in his house. And that's illegal. And restraining orders can't effectively imprison people. So I can't even file a restraining order on that incident that happened. So guess what I had to do? Because my husband was gone, stayed 2 nights in a hotel. And that wasn't fun because I shouldn't have to leave my own home knowing that the cops aren't going to do anything. You know, it's not illegal to take pictures in public. And I'll never say that it is. I stand on my rights and I stand on someone else's rights. And he knows his rights. He knows that he didn't do anything wrong. He knows that. He also knows that it was intimidating to me. He knows he was intimidating me. He knows that he was saying, "Oh, your husband's gone. Watch me. Watch me mess with your head." So these kinds of things have just been going on for 12 years. And it's exhausting. Because I can't sit on my front porch and listen to a podcast or read a book without him watching. I can't play with my dog. She likes to play frisbee. And there's no fence between our yard and the neighbor's yard. And so I'll throw the frisbee and she'll go catch it. I can't do that without him watching me. I can't get in my car like this morning when I backed the cars out of the driveway. He's watching me. I have flipped him the bird numerous times. Sometimes he ignores it, and sometimes he plays the victim. And then he will text my husband and say, "I don't know what her problem is. Why she flipped me the bird? I'm a good neighbor." And we have these text messages where he just goes on and on and on about how he contributes to society, about he served his country, blah blah blah. I don't care about any of that. None of that precludes you from being a bad neighbor. I know I have veterans in my family. My son is a veteran. You can't use that as a get out of jail free card, metaphorically speaking. You don't get to say, "Oh, well, I get to be a crap hole person because I'm a veteran." I think there's some level of stolen valor there, but I don't care. I'm not, it doesn't matter to me. Nor does his veteran status matter. Even if there's no stolen valor, I don't care. You're still that person, So there's nothing I can do. When he's in the street and he's almost gotten run over too many times to count. Even yesterday, I got a shot of him having to step aside so a truck could pass on his, because the trucks have the right of way. Cars have the right of way on the road, and the cops don't care. They're like, "Oh well, as long as he, I don't know, jumps out of the way." No, I don't know. I've called the street people, Ada County Highway District. They don't care. I'm like, "Look, this guy's managing the road and he's creating a neighborhood nuisance. He's in the road multiple times a day, creating all these disturbances. In the wintertime, he will push the snow off of his property in front of the storm drains. They don't care. By the time they get out there, the snow is melted or whatever. Or sometimes they'll just flat out say it's not our problem. So this guy knows, literally, that his poop don't stink. And we're paying the price. I really honestly feel at times that we are being held prisoner in our home. I can't open my kitchen curtains without knowing that he's going to stare in at me. I hardly ever open my living room curtains. I have this big, huge window that I have some curtains that I can open. And I haven't opened them forever. I might push one aside next to the front door and get a little bit of sunlight in. But I don't remember the last time I have just bona fide opened all 4 curtains, pulled them back with the ties, and let the sunshine in. Because I know that the payoff is going to be, it's awkward to just move around your house knowing that it's not just a neighbor with his garage door open being purposeful. Because all the neighbors at some point will open their garage doors. We do it. We open the garage door when we're doing yard work. That's not what this is at all. Not even a little bit. So we've been dealing with this for 12 years. He was gone for an entire week, and it was nice. I did open my curtains the week he was gone. It was quiet. It was peaceful. It brought my life some sense of relaxation. I sat out on my deck after work every day. It was nice. I'm going to close the sunroof while I'm finished because I'm almost at work. So it was nice. Might get the light might change a little bit in here. And now that he's back, I'm not sure how any of that is going to get handled. I'll still sit out there, and I don't mind flipping him the bird and telling him to step off and stop staring at me. But he sees that as funny. Now that's an attention-seeking behavior for him. So I ignore it, and it empowers him because I'm not reinforcing my boundaries. If I reinforce my boundaries by saying, stop staring at me, he thinks it's funny, and it gets a rise out of him, and that's what he wants. So I'm really at a loss right now for how to handle it because I have zero legal protection. I mean, I could hire an attorney, but again, he's the guy that lives across the street. What is a judge going to do or say about any of this? What is a judge going to say? A judge is going to say, well, he has the right to live there. It's not illegal to be a creepy stalker guy, as long as he's not doing anything physically violent or whatever. So I'm kind of stuck in a catch-22. So there will be more, I am sure. I'm at work now. Gotta go get all my desk set up since I worked from home yesterday. So we'll talk later. You're worthy. You're special. You have value in this world. Talk later.